we're ready. The time is right. I'd like to call the January 10th, 2023 meeting of the Leadville Historic Preservation Commission to order at 4 o'clock exactly, 4 p.m. Could we have a roll call?
Commissioner Edwards.
Here.
Commissioner Lindquist is absent. Commissioner Spillman.
Here.
Commissioner Whittington.
Here.
Alternate Flanagan.
Here.
Alternate Bailey. And Chair Martin.
Here.
We definitely have a forum.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes or want to add something to the agenda? Does anybody want to move for approval?
I move we approve the agenda for the January 10th, 2023 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approval of the December 13th minutes. That was the session with the city council.
I move to approve the minutes of the December 13th, 2022 meeting.
Your second?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, housekeeping items. We have quite a few things to go over.
Well, I think I already told you guys, I'm not sure, but we did receive $75 for the scholarship for the saving places. So we might want to think about whoever does get the scholarship. Obviously we have to have the invoice back, so it could be someone that I enrolled or it could be someone that they enrolled themselves. But they do need to answer a few questions. There's like a list, you have a list of sessions and dates you attended or recordings that you watched. 3 are required, but please list all sessions. And then 3 things the attendee learned overall, not per session. And would you recommend the educational program to other CLGs? And then the date of the commission meeting where that person shared that information with the commission. So it can either volunteer or somebody has to be the one that takes enough notes or can fill out that little bit. And then we can put that person's name down as the person who's going to get the scholarship. And then we'll get reimbursed back to the city.
Okay, I don't mind doing it,
Okay, you want to be, okay.
but this thing has to be filled out afterwards.
Afterwards, right.
Right.
I just needed to let you guys know what's expected of you to get that scholarship, which is just taking little notes and saying what you learned.
Mhm.
But I'll put you down, and then it, like I said, it's afterwards that we do this anyway to get our $75.
Okay,
So, okay, the Christopher Fortney, you might help me out on that, Fortney. He's with ODA, the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. I did it, yay. And he is coming, he's basically in charge of the commercial tax credits for the state, and he is wanting to meet at the Tabor Opera House this Thursday. And the mayor and I are going, and the mayor asked me to invite Chair Martinek and one other HPC person, and Joey, we thought you were so well spoken and highly intelligent, and the mayor decided it should be you. So Marcia and Joey and the mayor and I will meet with them. There's a couple other people from History Colorado that have to do with the tax credits gonna be there. Not really, we have no idea what kind of meeting it is. We just thought it would be nice if we should make an appearance. I mean, that's somebody we should definitely get to know and let them know who we are. So
do they know how cold it's gonna be in that building?
they do. As a matter of fact, Tammy asked me, should we bring refreshments like something hot? Because it's so cold. And when I asked the mayor, he was like, this isn't our bill, it's Tammy. Yeah, but we didn't arrange for this meeting. I really don't even know what it is, other than they want to see where a lot of tax credits that, you know, they want to see the improvements on the table. So I probably will be bringing some hot coffee or something hot to drink, even though the mayor's saying not.
So what time is it?
8 o'clock Thursday morning. They're
That's what
coming in from Denver, so it probably depends on how much snow we get tomorrow, whether that's still at 8 o'clock, but I gave him my cell phone number, should they run into any kind of delays, they're gonna let us know, and I'll let you guys know
Okay.
as soon as they let me know, so. What's next? City council is going to have a work session on January 24th. Chapin is going to be there. I will be there to answer any questions on behalf of the HPC, but I really think it's a good idea that we let them have a work session we get a little bit frustrated with things that we didn't realize they don't know. So I feel like it would be a really good opportunity for them to ask what they might consider stupid questions or whatever. I just don't want to make them feel uncomfortable at all. I want them to be able to ask Chapin all the professional type questions and keep it more on this changes this, and you know, I just didn't want to get, and that's me. So if you guys feel like you want to be there, you're more than welcome to come. It's a public meeting, but we have not noticed this as a work session for HPC. So we have to be careful. We can come as citizens. Yeah. I mean, we just haven't noticed this as a meeting for ourselves, so I'd rather keep it that way.
And you'll tell us what happened.
Oh, and it'll be recorded and shaken, and I will both be there, and we will definitely have a summary of what went on. And plus, that's where we want to get our next steps,
Mhm.
is from that work session. Do they want to have another work session with us? Or do they want us to present them with our code changes? So that's why I'm trying to leave it to Chapin to kind of direct it.
Yeah, I'd check with the city attorney on, because I think if you got 2 or more appointed officials meeting in place, then you have to provide a public notice, but so it would probably be good if we had a representative from the HPC, but I think any more than that, we have to provide public notice, and we haven't, like, so we haven't publicly noticed as an HPC meeting.
All you have to do is put it.
That's true. And you guys tell me if you want to be there as a collective commission, then I will definitely post it. But as we have thought about it, I should say I, because I'm the one that doesn't think we should be there. I just want to give them a chance to hash anything out that they might have confusion. But if you would like as a commission to be there, tell me and I will post it.
I'm expecting the information to be presented from staff to be very similar to what was already presented, just considering we had low attendance from the council. I will go back and look at my notes and add anything that I need to for the information that's presented, but I think substantially it'll be the same as what was presented in the previous work session.
Do you have any feeling that more people will show up at this one than came to the one with the?
I think so. I think we got some head nods at one of the previous council meetings.
Last I heard, there were only 2, I think, that weren't going to be able to make it. So I do believe they'll have much better attendance.
Good.
Do we know who those 2 are?
What two?
I can only remember one, quite honestly, and I think I'd rather not say since I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Chris just comes in trouble.
Let's move on. Sorry. And that's it for housekeeping.
Okay, new business. The Golden Borough application to the National Register.
Nice. Nice.
I mean,
And I tried to make a little summary on a staff report. Chapin and I do agree with Chapin, we need to get a little more, anytime there's an action item for the commission, there should be a staff report attached to it to help you guys summarize and get the gist of what it is we're asking of you. If it's just a work session or for informational purposes, we will have a memo attached that hopefully will do the same, maybe just not as in depth as a staff report does. I will admit that I did the staff report on my own, Chapin, and I feel bad because it would have been a little more professional had you done it. But I think everything is pretty clear. We only have the criteria that they are applying under to go by, which is the criterion A. which is, how did I say that? Property is associated with events that have made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of our history. They also, one thing during this particular, I guess we would call this action item, I do need to know whether you want me to use the form that is in there, or whether you would rather I write up a letter of sorts to the History Colorado people, because at the end of their application in this packet, there is basically the Colorado Certified Local Government National Register Nomination Review Report Form. It is simply a one-page form where we say, yes, we agree, or no, we don't, and that's it. And then the chair signs and the mayor signs. We can either send this, or we can send a letter, or we can send both. So that would be your decision. But we'll go back to the main bulk of this, which is the nomination itself. Did you guys have any questions of the application that was in the packet?
I thought it was very thorough.
The application is very thorough. I don't know that a cover letter is necessarily required.
Okay.
That, the application, that, as you guys think it might make any difference, but their application is extremely thorough.
Mhm.
It is.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job, and it's very exciting to see a property applying for a national register, and especially for this mid-century period that we're interested in expanding.
Right, it just kind of backs us up on what we're requesting. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Jabin, did you want to add anything to this? Again, this is our first review of a national nomination. I reached out to Lindsay to make sure that we did it properly and noticed. All we have to do is notice the 24-hour in advance like we normally, and we don't have to do a public hearing. But we do have to have an official vote. Did you want to, is there anything I'm forgetting about?
No, thanks to the lawyer for pulling this together. I wasn't able to help much because I was under the weather last week. Obviously, this is a recommendation, and the state is making the final determination.
It is a recommendation, and I also included in your packet the date of their hearing when the state will be reviewing this nomination and voting on this nomination. Should anyone want to attend, you certainly can virtually.
It's later this month, isn't it? It's
It is the
pretty
20th.
soon. Yeah.
And we have to have our recommendation to them by the 17th, so I will be doing that tomorrow, just to make sure we get our say in it. I will note that failure to do this is a hit against your CLG, and if you do not go through this process on nomination, you run into maybe getting your CLG taken away from you. So it is a very important thing, and if you're not a CLG, you do not get the opportunity. But if you are, you kind of are required to, which is really not exciting.
And it's, hopefully if we are able to do, a full historic context and survey through grants in the future, hope that'll make future nominations that anyone in town prepares easier for them. Cause they'll be able to cut and paste essentially for this like developmental history
Yeah,
context section.
absolutely agree. And we might see more nominations once we get that, and it goes a little smoother and easier for people.
Let's see.
Mayor, did you want to you have to sign this as well. Would you like to weigh in on any thoughts that you might have?
Jake, I had a conversation today, I don't know if I'm right or not, may not be. It seems to me that getting a national designation as a historic place, can be a double-edged sword for the property owner. And it very much limits, if they're given that designation, it very much limits what they can do with that property, not just in renovation, but actually in use. And the sale of the property then, can be a problem for them too. So I guess it's not quite clear to me why anybody would pursue that, that's all. I'm not sure I quite understand what the value of it is. Does anybody know?
Tax
Maybe
credit.
there's a financial value that I'm not appreciating.
There are federal
credits.
preservation tax credits that are.
On a
in
federal
addition-
level,
in
yeah.
addition to State tax credits.
So,
Up to 35%, I believe, on the federal level, so it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
a lot of the renovations they've done have already timed out of those
That's
tax
true.
credits. So they're not gonna, unless they do further renovations, they're not gonna qualify for the federal. This usually have to be applied
for
for.
me, it's just the cost, you know.
Makes sense.
It is a good thought, yeah.
Yeah, and it can bring added tourism, sort of depending on how you market it or present it.
It seems like that would be done by the Lundins specifically to increase the value of the property.
Mhm.
Whether that actually works out, as you say, who knows? But
Do you-
that's always seemed to be
Yeah.
top of mind for them.
It seems like it's a matter of time, right?
Mhm.
As a matter of selling it to the next possible owner, that might scare them away.
That's true.
Again, I hope they get it, if they want it, you know, I think it's great, I'm just not sure of its value.
It's a good point.
Any more discussion or?
Do you guys think we should do a cover letter for that, or just let it go with the form and the
I kind
application?
of think we don't need to do a cover letter with that just because there's so much verbiage here already.
It's a
You know,
long, very
I don't know what
thorough
the cover
application,
letter could
yeah.
do, except, take the highlights out of this and maybe, I don't know.
If you really want to do a cover letter, it's
You
just
know,
that it.
You know, my only thought on the cover letter was, should you guys come up with other reasons or wanna say you feel like it should be nominated because of X, Y, and Z, then I feel like a cover letter would be needed. If we don't have any discussion and we're just going off that criterion A, which is really all we have to do anyway, plus what's in that application, I don't feel like a cover letter is needed. Just if you guys had something more at this particular meeting that you wanted to let them know, it's the only reason I thought of a cover letter. Because they gave me the option.
Yeah, would it be worth doing something short, just saying that it's one of the most sort of visible and distinctive properties on Harrison, and it also fits into this sort of mid-century climax Camp Hale sort of context that we're interested in, sort of.
And that's the stuff I'm looking for. If I was to do a cover letter, it would be because of something like that. So if you guys think that's a good idea, I'm more than happy to do that.
And that would be fine. I have nothing against a cover letter.
Just a small, very short brief.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe a super short cover letter just to emphasize what Scott said, only because it's required of us as a CLG. Maybe that gives us a little bit of an extra check mark on top of our form.
You are right, yeah,
It can't hurt,
right,
and it is a requirement of us.
yes. And I want them to be sure and know that we very willingly made this and appreciate that opportunity. So maybe a short little cover letter summarizing what Scott just said will work.
Mhm.
Okay,
Any other
but we do
thoughts?
need an official
No, I agree.
motion, and I do have it on your staff report, so it does have to be an official motion.
It
And
does.
voted on.
Right, everyone said, I move that the Leadville Historic Preservation Commission recommends that the nomination meets the criteria checked above and that the commission forward the review report form and formal cover letter to History Colorado showing our recommendation.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor? Aye.
Let's do an actual formal vote,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Would
Sure.
you like, alternate Flatterer to vote while, Commissioner Lindquist is absent?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Whittington,
Yes.
Commissioner Spillman,
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Flatterer,
Yes.
Chair Martin.
Yes. Okay,
Perfect, thank you guys so much. I will go ahead and have you sign this at this time so that. Oh, thank you. To Chair Martin and the mayor votes, please. Sign and date. And you have to check the box that. I don't want to do that. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Actually, on the next item, I know Mr. Martin, we'll get to this in just a second. The review of the Metcalf survey and bid is how in depth we go with this particular meeting is completely up to you guys. I would like Scott, Commissioner Spillman to touch on the full context that you and I have done that the commissioners are not all aware of. So, Commissioner Martin, next, right?
I'm sorry, what? You're doing.
On the next agenda item, if you could just turn it over to Commissioner Spillman. How about that?
Okay, so for the review of the Metcalf survey bid, I think Lori included all three
I did, I'm
of
sorry.
which maybe we saw at the last meeting, but, anyway, they each are, $29,000 to $31,000, that seems to be sort of the current rate. We also, as a result of discussions with Lindsay Fluelling and other people at History Colorado, asked Metcalf for a bid for a full historic context for the Leadville National Historic Landmark District, which essentially is, a lengthy history of town with detailed sections about things like architectural styles, developmental periods, that helps essentially lay out the background case for both period of significance and also for determining whether or not structures are contributing, sort of how they fit into that context, into that history. The total amount for the full historic context is about $60,000. History Colorado initially thought that we should sort of do that first, but that is significantly more than a CLG grant. So we talked to Lindsay Fluelling, and she thought it would be fine for us to do, as we had planned, just one of these survey chunks first. But with Metcalf sort of being sure to build in a little bit of context to it, and also go ahead and make some determinations about contributing versus non-contributing structures. And then in a full SHF grant, since those can be much larger, use that to apply for the full historic context plus the other two priority one survey areas. With the goal then of getting the full historic context and these three priority one survey areas done as soon as possible, with these grants in the next 2 years or so. And then in the future, hopefully building on that with sort of the outlying areas around town that weren't identified as much of a high priority in that sort of survey plan from 2015. And yeah, that's sort of where we stand with Metcalf and with sort of the plan, sort of timeline in terms of different grants that we might apply for.
Did Metcalf give you a different cost or have you talked to them about, adding a little bit to this?
They,
The one,
they said that was all kind of built into the
Okay.
first, that's
Included,
what
yes,
how I
yes,
understand,
that
yeah.
included in,
Yeah,
A general overview is.
yes.
yeah, so it's not gonna be a super detailed historic context of the whole town for this one survey piece, but it'll be sort of building on what already exists for the whole town and then sort of doing some targeted archival research and specific research for the neighborhood that they'll be surveying, and then going ahead and doing a contributing, non-contributing assessment in the field or as they're completing the survey forms, and having enough information built into those survey forms so that then when we have the full historic context, we'll be able to look back at those forms and be like, oh, yeah, this fits or this doesn't. Yeah. So that's the goal.
What are the chances that we get this first $25,000 grant?
I don't know, Lindsay seemed to think that competition would be tight, that they had already, more drafts submitted. So I think significantly more. I mean, there aren't like an infinite number of CLGs in
There's a lot of
Colorado.
there's a lot of
But, yeah,
competition this
Yeah,
year.
not everyone's gonna get one. But they do know that we have a lot of need for work here. So that'll help us.
They do know how behind we are, and all of their recommendations include surveys.
Yeah,
So
yeah, like in the, the form that you have at the end here, the CLG.
CLG evaluation.
Basically, says we need to do some
Exactly.
survey work.
It's not 100%, but they're aware of our need.
Yeah, and so
That should
hopefully,
weigh in our favor.
yeah, and then Marcia was able to get 13 letters,
Yeah, thank
from
you.
the mayor, from a county commissioner, Colorado Mountain College, Tabor Opera House, Herald Democrat, et cetera.
People were very good about,
Mhm.
but hardly any nagging, hardly any.
Yeah, so that, I mean,
Thank you for that.
that's a decent percentage of the town. that we've got. So hopefully that'll help a lot, because they're good letters from sort of, pillars of the community.
Prominent structures too,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
others are prominent
Yeah.
structures, which I think will help.
Did the LCCCA, did you get a letter from Carl?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one.
Yeah, so does anyone have any thoughts on that general plan of grant applications?
Can I ask which West End it is we're doing first? I just never.
I decided to go with the 8th and 9th,
Okay,
because that one was straightforward.
8th and 9th west, not 8th and 9th.
West End residential.
Yeah, west. It includes the National Mining Hall of Fame and Museum, and includes a number of sort of old, big, fancy houses.
A lot of those houses are getting a lot of work done right now, and it's really nice to get that survey because it would change the quality of the work being done to those houses.
Yeah,
That would be really nice.
yeah, anyone, I mean, it was hard to pick because they all
Well, there's very
Need
little
it.
left, there's very little left for the other end of
chestnut,
town.
yeah,
In my opinion, that should be the last one, because there's very little there, there's a lot of history and research,
could have been done a while
but there's
ago.
nothing saving. These two
Mhm.
would actually be saving structures or increasing the quality of the renovation work being done too.
Yeah, so,
So there's a good
I
reason to
mean,
do that.
received inquiries in regards to demolition structures in that area
oh,
recently.
really?
Absolutely.
So,
Okay, well, that's really good to know.
So, yeah, no, that would be a very good thing for the city if we can start. in one of
Yeah,
these two.
it's a prominent area, it's sort of right as you're coming into town, it was on the low end of the price, the sort of 29 to 31,000, so I figured if we can save a couple thousand there, might as well,
Well, and the nice thing is, if they start with that one, then it'll be easier to do the one across the way as well.
yeah,
So they'll have a head start on the next survey,
yeah.
because the architects,
We're
for
the
those, a lot of
similar.
those are the same.
Okay, yeah,
So that's west, 8th and 9th, and how far west is it?
there's a map in the application here, which I drew very fancy schmancy in Google Maps. So it goes down to James, I believe, along 8th, basically.
Oh,
So just over the top of the hill.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's good. That's
Basically,
how far you wanna go.
yeah, down to Good Shepherd Lutheran.
okay.
Yeah, so
That's not quite included in the boundaries as it was in the survey plan. The church isn't, but it goes down and around that corner kind of.
that gets us to the 1957.
Yeah, and it even includes up to Harrison between 8th and almost to 10th there. Basically between 9th and 10th, and goes behind National Mining down to
That one curve road.
yeah, is that Spruce? On Spruce comes up to 9th down basically to like the Mineral Belt. And then up James to 7th, and then comes up 7th to basically the half block behind Harrison, and then doesn't include those storefronts on Harrison since they've already been surveyed, and then over. So it's I think 108 structures, something like that.
Nice.
Wow. That we would get, yeah, so it's a good chunk of, each of these ends up being a pretty good chunk of town that then we would have lots of really good information on. And they would be able to complete the survey within about a year, from, 2 finished documents, doing the survey over the summer and fall.
I didn't find it in there, but are there price bids dated? Is there a time limit on these bids? I didn't see one stated.
No, I didn't see that,
I think it was in the email.
Yeah.
That they.
I would assume it's good for,
So we're
like
not,
a year.
we don't have a super short period of time in which to be able to.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, we would get it done in the next couple of years here with this, yeah. Yeah, cause
It's
then
unusual for anyone to give a bid, but
it doesn't,
end with that.
yeah, yeah.
And they do know, they were aware that we were going for, grants anyway, so I think they're
So targeted toward,
kind of used to that, they're kind of, yeah, they know it would take up to a year.
What are I know we have to have the grant in later, the application in later this month, next week or something, right?
January 17th at noon.
But when do we find out?
I think it's fairly quick, just because, Lindsay already knows all the CLGs and, it's only gonna be, 20 or 25 applications. So I think pretty soon, but I don't know the exact
Mhm.
timeline.
Yeah, I don't.
The chances are good that we could get started on that survey. If we got the grant, then the chances are good we could get something going this year.
Oh, yeah, that would be our goal. We would, I think we would definitely find out by March or so. And then that would allow us to go ahead and I think the earliest you can start work on it is April.
It'd be nice if we knew by March, because then we could announce that we were having a survey done.
Right.
Yeah, so in my dreams, yeah, we'll announce it for Leadville History Month. They'll do some research in April, May. They'll do, well,
Yeah, even if they
snowy.
can't start, we could announce that they were going to.
Yeah, then they'll do on the ground stuff over the summer and fall, and then late fall, winter, write it up. And then next April, a year from April,
Be able to present. a
yeah, we,
Survey,
yeah, do a big to do.
Mhm.
Nice.
Do they
Yeah, sure.
contact each? Go ahead.
I'm sorry,
I was just wondering if all the property owners are contacted.
they have to be
Yeah.
contacted, and that's actually part of the proposal is that they will contact them with individual surveys as well as
Yeah,
surveys for the homeowners.
yeah, so,
In addition to what they're.
maybe we should talk about, were you all able to read the application at all?
Actually, that's next on the
Okay.
agenda items. I mean, Metcalf was separate, but if,
Yeah.
however, sure, Martin wants to do it, but
You wanna,
they're all hand in hand, so I just kept them separate.
Yeah,
Okay, well, we can move on to that if you would like,
yeah, the three of them. are
finalizing the
separate.
grant application.
oh, yeah, so,
Did everyone get a chance to look over the grant application that's in the packet? It's got for stuff on it.
my pleasure. Yeah, so it just goes through, maybe I'll just walk through it. There's just a brief description of the project. We're asking for 25,000. Oh, I need to fill in the project total, but some of that will depend on budget items. A somewhat lengthier project selection, form, just laying out why we're choosing to do this particular project now. Explaining that it's part of this larger historic context plus survey plan that we have. A project team, where I talk about all the great things that Lori and Chapin bring, plus then just copy paste the things of the Metcalf folks. I do have one brief paragraph there about the Leadville Historic Preservation Commission. that will assist the survey consultant in identifying local resources and perform public outreach. Does anyone have ideas of anything I could or should add to that paragraph?
Does that
in
include
particular?
something like there was mentioned in some of the things about volunteers doing some of the other work? Is that something we should put in there? Because I think we could probably get some volunteers, don't you guys? I mean, to do some of the easier,
The forms for houses, for clearly non-contributing.
right, there was some portion of it that said something about having volunteers. do
Yeah.
that, And I thought maybe we added that in the,
Yeah.
it kind of shows that the community is behind us, we could easily get.
We'll
volunteers.
identify volunteers to assist
Mhm.
with.
In the advisory committee, be happy to help.
Oh, thank you, Mark, that'd be great, yeah, thank you.
Now, another thing, that paragraph probably ought to mention that we do have access already to the Sanborn maps and other research
Mhm.
avenues. Because a lot of these communities won't necessarily have those things available, so we have quite a bit of research
Yeah,
materials available that we're familiar with.
yeah, and I'll have some of that probably in my paragraph about Lori and her expertise in property research.
Yeah.
Oh, you make me look so good.
Yeah, and then, section 3 is a project description. A lot of this is just taken straight from the Metcalf bid for the different tasks that they lay out for themselves. The literature review and archival research, and then field work, and then completing the actual forms. I basically copy and pasted and sort of rearranged and polished a few things. For underrepresented communities, this is similar to what was on the previous draft. I just added in 1 or 2 things based on feedback on the draft from Lindsay Llewellyn. I do say in here that we want to make our communications about the survey and its results available in both English and Spanish. And so then that's a question for the budget.
Oh, you asked me that
Yeah, if
question.
we'll need to do translation.
Mayor, I wanted to ask you that question, because I didn't know, do we have, translation services available to us here at the city, or is that something we would have to hire out?
We have our,
Okay, then I
there are
will,
services that the courts have the same issue. And there are services that will do it via Zoom. I mean, you know, the idea of trying to have somebody available is very difficult. So.
I will get some bids to see what that might cost to get, are you talking written?
Yeah, I was
Okay,
thinking,
okay, and our
Thinking about
publications.
just translating the
Our
report.
notes.
yeah, I was thinking just the reports, the written reports. Yeah, I do think it would be,
Translation on written reports, I might suggest you go full circle.
okay,
And see if there's somebody there, you know, in their organization who can contract to keep the money.
yeah,
Well,
Right,
yeah, we did.
There is, Eudalia Contreras, who works for Full Circle.
No, she works for Global Generation.
Well, one of
okay,
those.
well, I'll contact folks, okay.
Anyway, yeah, he does contract.
What would you say the name was?
Eudalia Contreras, he does contract translations, and she's pretty good. It's always a good idea to check, but,
Mhm.
we used her at the museum a lot.
Okay, awesome.
And she does it by the word, so
Okay.
you can get a pretty good estimate if you've got an idea how many words you're gonna have.
Yeah,
Okay, I will reach out and get some bids on that, but that will have to be something we will budget for.
and then section 6, public benefit and outreach, just talking about the different, constituencies that this will benefit: Leadville City Government and Historic Preservation Commission, local businesses, Main Street Program, EDC, local property owners and residents. And then that will publicize it via flyers, city newspaper, Main Street and EDC newsletters, etc. And also we have to hold some public meetings about it. I need to add that in. I think 2 or 3 are actually required.
How about, saying, I haven't read it in detail, but how about saying we're gonna do a presentation at Saving Places next year?
Oh, yeah.
It won't be done yet, but we
Mhm.
could still do that, or you could say we're gonna do it in 2025 when it is done.
Yeah, I do say, I kind of signed Chapin up basically in the last paragraph here to give a presentation at Saving Places about the findings and the lessons learned.
Right there at the
Give
end.
them a year and you'll be fine.
Presentation on food success to all the research.
Yeah, so hopefully we can, I don't even know when you like sign up to do a Saving Places thing, but I'm sure that they send out.
I think they sent something out,
that
they were looking for, yeah.
You sign up in the fall. So like October, I think is normally when the
Yeah, it's like-
proposals do.
October, November-ish, they start sending out asking for people who want to speak or want to present.
Okay, sounds good. And then the budget section at the end. So obviously the main item is the survey, which they bid at $29,357. I put 2 different flyers to all city residents for the survey start and the associated public meeting announcing it and answering questions. And also inviting people if they have information about their properties. I wasn't sure. So 2 flyers, one at the start, one at the end. I wasn't sure whether or not to do a separate flyer specifically targeted at the neighborhood that's going to be surveyed, or whether that would be totally redundant.
They're already gonna get.
Just saying like, hey, we're gonna be surveying your property if you have information, but if we just put that in the general one.
I think if you put it in the general one, it'd be fine because Metcalf will be,
Metcalf's gonna do that.
Yeah.
will be contacting all of them individually, so.
Yeah.
And they'll be mailing information, they'll
Right.
be mailing surveys to them in addition
Hmm,
to trying to contact.
I
yeah,
think the 2 are okay.
yeah, and I just took the amount for that from
I did, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
a good
that
guesstimate.
was perfect. So I just dropped that in for both of those. Translation services is still a question mark.
I'll get that as soon as I can.
And then I didn't know whether there were any things I was forgetting, whether for public meetings we'd wanna do something.
I have a little open housey kind of relaxed type thing.
Yeah.
Ask questions and have some questions or something. That's
Or
not a
whether,
bad idea. It's kind of a town hall, so to speak, kind of meeting where people could, I don't know.
I wonder if we were gonna do a town hall kind of thing, maybe we could call on somebody like the Lundins to host.
oh,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah,
have to be them, it could be anybody, but maybe we could get some contributions.
yeah, and we could just put a few $100s in there and then say that
Yeah,
that's gonna be
put
an
a couple of
in-kind
$100s.
donation.
And that lets us, if somebody says that we could use their venue, then we could,
Mhm, like 5.
help out.
Is that too much? Or 3,
I think
250?
3 or 4, I don't know.
Probably 300.
Yeah.
These are not gonna be huge things.
Right.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
would be enough to cover, if nothing else, beverage.
This says an in-kind, hopefully.
Do they allow food and beverages in the budget? You better double check,
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah.
because they may
that's true.
not.
Yeah, I know that they
It
have
doesn't have to
something
be listed out as food and beverage, it could just be for.
for event
Yeah.
space,
Meeting space or, something.
but I'll double check whether food and drink.
It's allowed, yeah.
Maybe Freight would be interested, since Nan did write us a
This is
letter.
true, yeah.
And
Yeah,
Good.
when they have events there, then they provide, people buy drinks
Right,
and things from them, they make some money.
No, you're
off that.
absolutely right.
oh, yeah, that
So-
might be a good way to do it. They could donate their space as an in-kind,
right.
but then they could make a little money.
But then make money off of any drinks.
I might suggest as a venue, the old church across the street.
Mhm.
They've got a kitchen and,
Okay,
But we'd have to bring our own stuff,
Well,
just
yeah,
to provide.
beautiful building too. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's not.
But that's a nice venue too.
Mhm. Can you think of anything I'm missing in the budget?
Does the 1,250 include postage?
Yes, it's a complete mail out. It's printing and and actually mailing, and the postage was included in that.
Well,
Yes,
yeah, so that's not too bad as a price.
I know.
But then that does mean that the total will be about 32,000. Which means we'll need, about 7,000 from somewhere.
From Greg. Yeah, but, going and asking the city for that money if we bring $25,000 to the
Right.
table is a pretty easy ask.
I think so.
That's,
You're missing a huge opportunity if you don't, and at that point, if we had to, we could solicit contributions.
I was gonna be a private donation.
yeah, just go to
I
like Main Street.
But yeah, if we could bring $25,000 to something that's gonna have that much benefit to the city, that's a pretty small ask.
Okay,
And
Good to
considering
know.
that the total price, I mean, what we're asking for such a small portion of that, getting that 25,000 out of that 32 is,
mm,
I think, would go a long way.
yeah, then in the future for the State Historical Fund grant, that would be a much bigger cash match.
Yes.
That would be a required 25% cash match.
Right, depending on how large we need, which we're at 60,000 now.
Yeah, well, if we do
We're at 120.
20.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
We're at 120, so we'll need for that one
40,000.
30. Yeah, well, probably 40 by the time there are various other expenses and stuff.
But still, once again, it's a,
Yeah, that's a small
It's a
input
huge-
for a big
yeah.
backyard, so hopefully we can make that case. The city, to local businesses.
Do you anticipate us, attempting to get one of those SHF grants this year? I mean, because they're due like April 3rd. I just don't see us doing another grant that way. But
I could, but we could put it on, either way.
I guess that's something we decide in the near
Yeah.
future.
I mean, with the,
Once again, momentum
Yeah.
is a big key in that. And even if we didn't get it this year, if we got the smaller one this year and we had applied for the bigger one
it
this year,
shows that we're,
then
Mhm.
next year, that would put us higher up in. the
I think so
hierarchy.
too. I think
Yes.
once you're successful. you kind of-
Given the opportunity.
Keep going.
yeah, and honestly, with these Metcalf, with their bids. I mean, it's not like pure cut and paste, but
But
for
it's
certain
a lot
sections of
easier.
it.
Mhm.
I can just sort of take some stuff that they put together, certainly for the project description stuff, they've already done all that.
Maybe we'll talk about that in the next meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's that deadline is, I believe, April 3rd.
Yeah, and that's
It's not very
a
far away.
bigger process, we have to do a letter of intent. And
It's a bigger
then,
process.
Yeah.
Because it's such a bigger grant, so,
Mhm.
yeah. it is.
yeah,
Okay.
But it would make sense to.
but yeah, let's put that on the agenda next time, just to talk about. Any other questions? Oh, we do need the only other thing we need in terms of attachments is a W-9.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, as long as you know sort
Yeah.
of what that should
Yeah,
look like.
I know the direction.
Okay. Well, then in that case, I will do the little edits here. If we get some budget items for translation, then I'll just send it to you, Lori,
Okay,
guess,
yeah.
'cause we
have to
need-
have signatures of.
Yeah, we need mayor,
Mayor.
we need Marcia.
Here, Martinek, and I
And-
believe our finance person, either
Yeah, I think you,
Donna and Laurie,
Yeah.
or Lori one,
yeah,
yeah,
somebody,
and then me as administrator.
yep.
Okay, so what you need from me or city staff is bids for translation
Mhm,
on written reports and W-9, correct?
mhm,
Okay,
yep.
got it.
And then we'll be good.
Hey, Scott, thank you so much
Yeah.
for all your work.
I just hope it works out so that we can get started and hopefully bring some benefits to the city.
Good work. What's a W-9?
It's a tax identification form for, I believe it's government entities.
It's who the money will get paid to, that's what
Yeah.
the W-9 is for.
Where will the money go and what kind, yeah.
So Lori's gonna fill out a personal W-9.
I.
Okay, so we're moving on from the grant.
Mhm.
I would want to not here.
Okay, CLG evaluation suggestions.
Honestly, this is just something that Lindsay sent in that I thought we should definitely take some notes on. A lot of it is directed at me, as a staff person to take better minutes. But on the last page of her evaluation under recommendations, again, survey. We're trying. That's one thing that I think that what they're trying to do is make us know that we need to not let up. Just keep going for as many grants and whatever we can to get some surveys done. They know that we're a small town that can't really afford all this, so we know it's gonna be grant, but
Well, then that's one more reason why we should probably go ahead and, even if it's just a cursory,
go for that
we
stage,
should go for we should apply.
yeah.
You think, cause I could go ahead and submit well, I'll take a look at the letter of intent to see what that.
That's a little more in depth
The
than
form.
the deal.
Yeah,
But yeah, if that's an option, and if we can help you with that in any way,
Right.
it would make sense just from the CLG standpoint.
alright, so. Yeah, so I'll take a look at what the letter of intent involves, we can talk about it next time.
And we also need to look into the National Park Services, they matched some grants, so that's. Like, for instance, if we did get one of the state historical fund grants and the match was 40,000, maybe they could match 20 and the city could match 20.
Yeah.
Maybe it can work like that, where we don't have to rely on one specific
Very true.
to get that chunk, so
Yeah.
that's another thing we really need to look at.
Absolutely.
But then, Lindsay's other recommendations, the minutes contain more detailed information on decisions made. That's totally on me, so I will improve on that. I've been trying over the last. Chief has helped me get a little more professional, and I still do the minutes for planning and zoning, and I've been getting a little more detailed in those, and then started trying to get a little more detailed on ours, but the December 13th minutes is the first one where I got a little more detail, so I'll continue to do that. I also, didn't realize in our annual reports, our CLG annual reports, I send all the minutes to Lindsay then, and I just kind of went off what Sarah had started, because you guys were fairly new, and Lindsay would prefer to get minutes throughout the year, so that she can kind of look at them and say, hey, here's some problems, which makes so much sense and would be so helpful to me, so I'm going to be sending her what we've gotten since, whatever, our October, I think is when so I'll send her a few of those and let her, give me some more pointers on what I might be omitting or whatever. And then finally, they do recommend that the HPC utilize an annual work plan based on the preservation and survey plans to keep us going in the right direction, which is not a bad idea at all. But we're kind of stressed right now with these grants and stuff, so I think maybe even later in the summer, we could address some of that, getting a plan even for future HPCs to kind of stay on track. We do have our comprehensive plan, we do have our survey plan, so that should help guide us, but if we could each year look at it, a plan to keep us on track throughout the year is something she suggests, so I think that's a really good idea, but
Well,
it's your commission, so you can do it. And those are just, those three little things on the back of her evaluation. Is what I think. So, no.
Is that it?
That is all I have, Madam Chair.
Hey. Does anybody else have anything? I was wondering, do we have anything coming up that we can anticipate?
I don't, Saving Places Conference, again, if you haven't already.
Mhm.
I also looked, I don't think that I think our CLG virtual rate is stuck. I don't think it's the early bird, I think it is good throughout, so you have until like the day before the conference starts to actually go ahead and register and get that $75 rate, so. But most people are registered that wanna go, except for Kurt, and you just let me know how you wanna do it. If you wanna do yourself, we'll reimburse you.
Okay,
I was looking at Lindsay's, I meant to put an email I just recently got from Lindsay in there into your packet, and I did not. But it was about the minutes I mentioned and the upcoming funding opportunities. There's a Paul Brunn Historic Revitalization Sub-Grant, but I don't think that I don't think that's something that we would qualify or eligible for. But Scott, maybe you could take a look at
Yeah,
that.
was
just
it
as-
Paul Brun?
It's called, yeah, Paul, BRUHN, Historic of Revitalization. And I wondered if this wasn't the one, you remember a while back? I gave it to Nancy, because of the Main Street, but they were talking about revitalization grants for upstairs, like commercial downstairs and they were giving grant money for long-term housing upstairs. I think that might be what this Paul
Mhm.
Braun is, I just don't really know. And then she mentioned the state historical fund grants were due in April. There's several education and training opportunities taking place, but there's a CLG tax credit training coming up in February. They're gonna have 2 tax credit training sessions, one for CLGs who've elected to review state residential tax credits, and another general session for all CLGs. So we may want to think about zooming in on either one of those to help us navigate that
Yeah,
tax credit issue.
yeah, it might be good to have, at least one person on that, the one for CLGs that have decided to review.
That, I think they're gonna get more
Yeah.
technical in that one,
Just in
so.
case we wanted, if that's something we ever want to do in the future, that will give us a good idea of what.
How
getting into.
cumbersome it might be.
If we want to do it or whether we
I
want to
agree with that. I
keep
think
that
that it's
state
worth
level.
going to and see. So if you guys keep that in mind, we can discuss that at the next meeting and see if someone wants to go to that. And then the last thing I had was, I know it's not right around the corner, but things sneak up on us around here. I did want, maybe Steve, if you want to talk about the workshop that you're gonna be probably going to for, he's going to an archaeology type convention, and there is a section 106 workshop. So he asked, and Chapin and I discussed it, and we would definitely pay for him to stay another night in the hotel to go to that particular workshop. And come back and report to us kind of what he learned, and we need some more education on that as well, because that was the first 106 review we have, and we're probably gonna have more of them. So what you said at April, that you'll, end of March, April-ish, you'll be going to that workshop?
Yeah, it's a Saturday, I think it's April 1st.
Okay.
And, yeah, it's in Portland, Oregon. I'm already going to the conference. But then I saw that this workshop was being offered. It lasts all day. I'm gonna know more about section 106 than I wanted to know. But, I think that there will be a lot of useful information. The description says that section 106, even though it's only like 2 sentences long out of the National Historic Preservation Act, is really the core of the whole thing. And so, yeah, it's gonna talk about reviews and about, who needs to be involved, that sort of thing. So if we get any more of these, reviews in the future, then maybe we'll know more about what is expected of us and, how to act and how to take them on.
And that could apply to, any city, county, school district, I guess, hospital project, any kind of, community facility project that's receiving federal funding. As we've learned, it's even outside of the historic district.
Right. So thank you for that.
So I will take extensive notes and then report on it at some future date.
But don't make it a whole day of report.
No, I might make you all suffer too.
Seems only fair.
Wow, okay. Anything else from anybody?
Did we get any feedback on the legal center from our recommendations or anything?
The Justice Center.
Yeah.
Justice Center,
No, we've not had, I think there's no updates since my last update, it's just essentially the last that I've heard is that I let the state know. I gave them our memo and gave them a copy of the plans that you reviewed, the state let us know that those plans that were, that you reviewed were not the same plans that they reviewed. In fact, I think they were substantially all different.
Do we know who had the latest plans then,
At
or?
least you had the latest plans. Yeah, and I don't know if there was any ill intent there or anything, it's just a matter of how things get around. This design is changing rapidly. And so it may have been, the plans were inadvertently not resubmitted to the state after they were modified, so, anyways, no further update.
yeah, okay.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you again, Scott.
Yes,
Tremendous
thank
amount of
you.
work.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm glad that you think it is worthwhile.
Yeah,
100%.
It looks
and
like.
again, I have to say, I don't think it would have gotten done had we
No,
not been
absolutely
able
not.
to do it. So, a huge thank you for all your work on this grant, because it just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Wasn't the bandwidth there,
Yeah, hopefully we can sort of build momentum and.
right?
keep it
And we'll just
going.
keep doing it every year.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Good new year for us, starting with one, so that's good. Does anybody want to move to adjourn? Nobody, you wanna talk?
Last 4 meetings, Steve's been so quick.
Well, he's usually has to leave, so.
I was gonna let somebody else have the, I move that we adjourn